Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are here live. And I'm back, 9 to midnight. Central Standard Time, re-aired on the good old WWCR. It's actually 9 to 1 a.m. It's a 4-hour show they re-air on WWCR and AM and FM stations across the country and the world. And number one at Shoutcast at Infowars.com. Number one radio talk show on the internet. You can, of course, also get our free podcast at Infowars.com by clicking on the Listen Live page, and right there is the podcast. Just copy the code onto your MP3 or iPod type device. Listen how you want, where you want, when you want. I don't know. A few weeks ago, I checked. It was over 135,000 people a day downloading it for free. I just know I get a huge $6,000 or $7,000 bill each month for that podcast alone, and that's getting the bandwidth cheap. But hey, free to you. We're paying for it, but that's what the sponsors that we have on the show also make possible. We are not, sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase. We are not sponsored by the Bank of England, the New World Order, or by Merck Pharmaceutical like Rick Perry. So we have a lot of other great sponsors that make it all possible. Look, if you take anything away from this, then we're going to go to your calls. Anything away from what I and Bob Chapman are discussing here, understand this. The world is a brutal, cold, dangerous place in history. And good men and women have gotten together and created systems to protect their liberty in the past. And even when you're desperately guarding it and fighting for it, it's very hard to keep. Now, when you run around drunk on power, having fun, not caring what's going on, giggling and laughing when people warn you about tyranny, you are going to get hurt real bad every single time. Okay? And I told everybody for years, I said, all this Al-Qaeda and all this anti-terror, the feds already tried to bomb Oklahoma City and get a police state going in the name of, going after terrorists within in America. And I said that didn't work too well for them. So I said they're going to stage terror attacks and blame it on foreigners. And I said that in 99, 2000, 2001. Because I could read the public white papers put out by government and others where they were saying we sure need a terror attack. If we had foreigners attacking us or what looked like were foreigners, then we could, with a big Pearl Harbor event, launch this global war against a shadowy enemy because you can't ever beat terrorism. I mean, they basically came out and said they were going to do it. They were 99% there in PNAC documents, grand chessboard, and I was like, folks, there's an Army document says this. Look at that. Get ready. They're going to attack us. Well, Alex, what do you think they'll blow up? Oh, the World Trade Center. They already bombed it once. And that even came out. And I'm telling you, these are ruthless people. They are cunning. And they're going for broke now. They have committed crimes so huge. We're devastated. It's a depression. It's done. The question is, will we now let them sit on top of us during the depression and make it worse? Or will we bring them to justice and turn things around? Okay? And they know if we turn it around, the only way we turn it around is them going to prison. They're not going to turn loose. While they're walking around free, folks, they'll stage terror attacks, they'll release bird flu, they'll start World War III, they'll set off nukes. They're bold, folks. That's why they're in control. They're bold and they're ruthless and they're evil. And they're sadistic, and they enjoy their work. They don't just do it cold-bloodedly. They enjoy it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Military, police, good old boys, liberals, everybody else. Grow up, face reality, face what we're up against, or it's over. I'm not risking my life for nothing. I know Bob Chapman hadn't been. And he's had to leave the country, the stuff they were doing to him to keep the fight going. Now, this is real, ladies and gentlemen. You know how real it is when they persecute you. Now, going back to Bob Chapman. Bob, I'm trying to throw the gauntlet down to people so they understand that the globalists already threw the gauntlet down. We don't have a choice in this. Be slaves or fight back. And the most frustrating thing is I see people fighting back and having an effect, and I know if people really took action, we would kick the butt of the New World Order. Bob Chapman.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why when I have the opportunity to go on programs, even how remote they are, I take it. I was on with a group of Republicans in Palm Beach County in Florida this week, and I was amazed that the call-ins that came in on the program were asking the kind of people questions that your audience does. So there's a lot of people out there who are helping us, who are working for the same end, and that is to expose the people who have created all these problems for America and for the world. And if we can just get that message out, like you are, Alex, with the DVDs and your programs and everything else, we can stop them. You never know. There's always some untoward event that happens that nobody expects. And, it could be a bank going under. It could be a revolution in some country. It could be an assassination in some country that wasn't planned by the Illuminists. You just never know. There can be that event. And when that event happens, people, all of a sudden, it comes together for them. And they say, well, as you said, Alex, let's bring them to trial. These people are treasonous.
Well, Bob, you're absolutely right. And, folks, I don't just get up here like a cheerleader telling you we have a chance to beat these people. The biggest thing we have going against us is the phony Christian churches. And, again, I'm a Christian. The phony Christian churches, Catholic, Protestant, you name it, bought off by the World Council of Churches, openly on FEMA payroll. We told you when it was classified. Now it's mainstream news. I start thinking about the amazing amount of stuff we break here. It's just incredible, thanks to the listeners that feed us all this info that we then double check, triple check. And their churches are saying, lay down, this is good, the government loves you, it's of the Lord, do what they say. As soon as that is torn aside, and we're getting very close to that, then we can move forward. But they've told Christians it's the end of the world, so don't fight evil, lay down and take it. Folks, even if it is the end of the world, which I don't believe it is, you've got a duty to fight evil, don't you, Bob?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right to the very end. And a lot of us can't do it, and that's okay. We're not all built that way. But there are a lot of people out there who are bright and intellectually and physically powerful. They're healthy people, and they should be joining in this us in this thing. I've been at this for almost 50 years. And quite frankly, I never get tired because I don't want to get beat. I want to beat them. And that's why I keep on doing what I do.
Exactly. You've got to turn the survival instinct, the competitive instinct loose against these people and know that's all around you. Millions of people worldwide, millions in the United States. We are all working towards the same thing, bringing tyrants to justice. And we're going to defeat these people in the end. I want to go to Eddie and all these other callers, but Bob, I've got to get this question out to you as well. Obama comes out and says, I'm going to protect the torturers. We're not going to call it torture anymore. We're going to call it tough interrogation. The camps are going to stay open. If you really read what the memos and executive orders say, it's going to continue. Here's the headline here out of the news, is Obama shields CIA officers over use of torture. Is chaining someone up to a wall where they can't move and where they are forced to stand for 7.5 days. From when I've read about torture throughout the last few thousand years in Korea and Russia and Vietnam, isn't that one of the worst forms of torture, is tying somebody up to a wall?
Absolutely. And they also use water torture while they're at it. And, not immersion, but the dripping on the head and the dripping in the cell, and then the lights are on all the time, and they're playing loud music, and they get all sorts of tricks that they use.
And by the way, the North Vietnamese turned our airmen in a year or two, most of them, into gibbering zombies with that. Go ahead. That's
right. And, when I was a young person during the Second Great War, that, you would hear about torture that the Japanese and the Germans used. Well, compared to what they're using today, that was child's play, because they didn't know how to attack the mind at that time. That didn't evolve until the late 40s and the early 50s. And, of course, we had Korea, and then that is when, quote, brainwashing began. But, it's been an evolutionary process, but now they got it down to a science. And there's very few people who can stand not being broken.
Well, I would just go insane. I know that. Can you imagine Well, the even sicker part is they then try to say, oh, we've been torturing him for 7 years. Now they confess to 9/11, and then they marched him in a few months ago, and they began screaming, I was tortured, it's fake, I was promised to be let go. And then they go, oh, shut down the trial. And that was in the news, in the news wires, but never on the nightly news, that they march him up and go, you now plead guilty. They finally thought they could take him to one of these kangaroo courts, and they start screaming, I was tortured, it's all fake. They still hadn't broken him. Can you imagine the torture they're under now?
Oh, it must be unbelievable. And, the point I was really trying to make about World War II is that America never did such things. And the whole psyche, the whole moral apparatus of the United States has, because of our leadership, changed dramatically. And, there are a lot of people who are subscribers to the publication who worked in counterintelligence with the government, and most of them are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they've all said the same thing to me. We never did anything like that. We wouldn't even think of doing something like that.
Well, plus it doesn't work. They admit, and all the experts admit, this is historical fact, torture is only good for terror. Torture is only good for fake confessions. It's not good for real intelligence. What you do is you walk in and you say, we got evidence you've committed these crimes. You're going to prison for the rest of your life, or we're going to put you up before a trial, and you're going to get the death penalty. Now, you got 5 minutes to talk, and it's got to be on record that you do what you say you're going to do. You got 5 minutes to sing like a canary, and if we find out it's fake, that's it. You're going to be executed. Then they talk. But see, these aren't real terrorists. The terrorism was committed by the very people doing the torture, so all they want is fake confessions. So, of course, torture's good for them.
They're absolute fiends.
But anyway, absolutely. But, the people that really know how to interrogate, that's what you do. You come in, give them cigarettes, coffee, whatever, and just say, look, you're going to go to prison if you don't, tell the truth. And then 99% of the time they talk. You start torturing people, folks, you get totally discredited. And now, how are we going to criticize the Somalis when they capture our sailors and torture them? Bob?
There's no room for that. They're just doing what we're doing. There's total justification in their minds for what they're doing. And, our people, our citizens, and our military people can expect that they're going to get the worst possible treatment if captured because of what our government has done to people.
It's just amazing. Bob, let's go to some calls. They've been holding long enough. And can you stay a little bit into the next hour with us?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I know you're a busy man. Okay, Eddie in California, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Alex. A couple things I want to talk about was, I get you on YouTube, and I read in the YouTube comments a lot, and all these people, they like to leave comments like, well, Alex Jones is only in it to line his pockets, and, how Alex is just out for the money. And it's kind of funny to me because I've been up with you for probably the past two years, and I've never paid a single red cent to get any of this news.
Well, let me just say something, and I'll let you continue and get Bob's take on it. I'm not saying it's all COINTELPRO or government. Most of it's just mental illness, and they have a term for it in Mexico, and I forget it. I've been told it in Spanish, but it means whatever poppy sticks its head up, or whatever chicken sticks their head up, the smaller chickens want to knock it back down. Or you see crabs in a bucket when you've been catching crabs at the beach. If they work together, they could climb out, but instead one of them tries to climb out, they come and grab him. I mean, they'll leave him alone until he tries to climb out. And I actually wish I didn't have to spend my time trying to raise money through sponsors and sales of videos to run the operation, because then I could make more films and get more information out. But we live in the real world. So I love these people that say, oh, you should have your radio show for free and your films for free. Well, I mean, I guess I could live with my parents, and then maybe somebody could pay for the microphone. I mean, this is mental illness. But if you read the COINTELPRO documents, they say, when they were trying to neutralize groups in the 60s and 70s, talk about how they're in it for money. Talk about it. Well, of course I've got to want money. And I'm not going to lie. I like once every 2 weeks to go eat a decent steak or something. Of course, I'm on a diet now. I'm not doing that. I like to I mean, I'm wearing a shirt right now that's got holes in the back of it because I'm attached to the shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt I've had since high school. But I mean, I'm not into things. My dad gave me a watch, so I like it. But you know, I mean, I like old cannonballs and stuff that, you know, were passed down from my great-great-grandpa or whatever. I mean, I'm into paintings my great-grandma painted. But I wouldn't sell out for money. See, money itself isn't a bad thing. Like gun isn't a bad thing. And that's all they can do. They can't talk about our info. So I give my films out for free. I post where they're at for free, and so that upsets them so much. They've got to say no. There's nobody pure of heart. There's nobody who's good. But I mean, Bob, it's mental illness, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the term that I use, when you're in first place, everybody else wants to kick you out. It's as simple as that. It's a form of jealousy. And I've gone through it all my life, and it's been the most disappointing thing to me because many long-term friends have eventually get jealous because, you know, I don't have an ego. I don't make any issue out of the fact I do what I do. And people get even more upset.
But see, I don't get jealous.
I don't take any money from anybody with the exception of the subscriber. And that's it.
But good. Good. It's not like a guns. The government makes you give them your money to then use it against you. Bob Chapman has a newsletter. I make films. Some of them lose money, some of them make money. And it's a mind trick. It's a mind game that people play. And it is jealousy, though. I mean, I want to be around successful people, dynamic people. I like successful, cool, smart people. I admire them. And I thought everybody else was like me, Bob. But I guess most winners do admire other winners. Losers can't stand it. I mean, you ought to see the stuff they make up about me, Bob. It's just insane.
Well, I can believe that because of the exposure you have, but it's just something we have to live with. It's human nature, and we just have to, you know, brush it aside and say, no, that's not the way it is, and this is why I do what I do. And if you like that, that's terrific. And if you don't, well, go listen to Hannity or somebody.
Absolutely. Well, I don't even really attack Hannity or hate him a lot because he never said he was a patriot. I don't like Beck because he poses and is so lecherous. Anything else, Eddie? Okay, we're going to come back and go to Tito, Paul, Philip, Dino, and others. Yeah, I mean, folks, we need more funds. I could do a lot more work if people bought more of the videos and books, or you want to send us donations, go ahead. Every time I get asked that question, my answer is I'm proud of what I do. I sleep very well at night. I'm very proud of my courage, I'll tell you right now. And I'm proud of Bob's as well. Stay with us.